My privilege and honor to introduce to you Tudor Kovacs from Romania. And Tudor is a steering committee member of the Global Forum on MSM, and he's here to introduce the next speaker.
Hello and welcome back to our works. I want to tell you a little story. Not long ago, in a God-forgotten country in Eastern Europe, someone had the idea that if life was tough for gay and bisexual and other MSM people, then it must be 10 times tougher for MSM who are living with HIV. So he got a few of them together for the first time in that God-forgotten country so they can help each other. And one of these people said something during one of those meetings that forever stuck with me. And this person said, "Together we can do great things." And this is something that I can also see here. In addition to everything that's good that we get from this kind of meetings and from this conference, it's also a time to remind myself, and I hope to you, that together we can do great things. And this is a wonderful event, and I think we're all leaving, or right now we're sitting here with all kinds of ideas and questions answered, and even more questions unanswered, and validations and debates and more knowledge. And just a quick test. Can you please raise up your hand if you're in this situation, if you have all these things running through your mind right now? Okay. Okay. That's quite a few. That's good. That's good. But anyway, next on, it's my pleasure to invite someone who is going to bring us this message once again, that together we can do great things, that nothing good can happen to us, about us, without us. And I mean Dr. Chris Mallouris from GNP+, who, great, please come forward. He started as an astronomer, which I thought was very interesting, and then, welcome. He worked at UNESCO in Paris in HIV and AIDS education programs, including care and support provided in schools, support for and by positive educators, and educational needs of positive learners. He joined the global network of people living with HIV in 1st of April 2008 as director of programs, and he heads the team there, focusing on positive health, dignity and prevention, empowerment of people living with HIV networks, sexual and reproductive health and rights, and human rights. Please.
Good afternoon, everyone. I know it's been a long, hot day, so I will try and be brief. I don't have the answer on how we can make this work together, but I will do my best to at least articulate some of the thoughts that came today in different sessions. Thank you, first of all, for the opportunity to let me speak about MSM living with HIV. And how the involvement, in particular, of MSM living with HIV is requires more attention and is part of the solution. Often when we talk about people living with HIV, we tend to generalize and forget about key populations living with HIV. Similarly, when we talk about MSM, we tend to forget about MSM living with HIV. HIV is a complex issue, and I understand that getting into those secondary and tertiary layers of complexity is often too much. But I think we have come to a stage in the HIV epidemic that there is no, that we can't afford that luxury. So we need both voices, people living with HIV, MSM, and MSM living with HIV. We need those voices to be heard. Today, you've heard about many aspects of the HIV response discussed. Anything from epidemiology to new prevention technologies, donor policies, engagement of communities, advocacy for rights, access to health strategies, and development of normative and policy guidelines. But how does that relate to MSM living with HIV? What is the reality that they're facing, that we are facing, and how does their engagement make a difference to their response. Today, this morning, GMP Plus and APN Plus, the Asian Pacific Network of People Living with HIV, held a session on bridging the gap between the MSM type of organizations and PLHIV type of organizations in terms of a joint response. And it was quite interesting. I was kind of surprised that it wasn't that overwhelming. It should be about MSM living with HIV leading the response in terms of MSM responses. So to me, it sounds like we really need to deepen the dialogue between the two communities, which seem to have evolved in parallel and not so much talk to each other. So why focus on MSM living with HIV? When we are talking about MSM, there's so many issues that we have to deal with. In 2008, APN Plus conducted a research in 10 countries, and about 900 MSM and transgender people responded. The research was concentrating mainly on access to healthcare services, counseling, and testing. More than 30% of MSM and transgender people responding to the research